Jim. Well, the storm took tourists by surprise as well as residents. Many of their hotels are damaged. We continue our live team coverage from the Myrtle Beach Pavilion now.
Wpde News Channel 15's Keri Schwartz is live with more. Keri?
Well, Keith and Allison, as we've said, we believe that tornado touched down just north here of the pavilion and really worked its way hard and fast southward down the coast. Now, most of the severe damage here in the city of Myrtle Beach can be found not too far from where we are on about 1st Avenue North. That's where firefighters had to evacuate 4 hotels and simultaneously deal with 2 buses that had overturned right in front of those hotels. Now let's go ahead and take a look at some of that video that we did shoot earlier this afternoon. You can see the damage to the balconies and the blown out windows here at the Bar Harbor Hotel. Now directly in front of the hotels you'll see the 2 buses that overturned. Captain Dan Samini with Myrtle Beach Fire tells us there was about 6 people on board the buses. None of them thankfully were seriously injured. On top of that, firefighters say there was a gas leak at those hotels. Now, firefighters were also very worried about an explosion due to chemicals that were on the ground from the overturned buses. Now, here's a scene just about an hour ago outside of Bar Harbor. Police and hotel officials were calling out people's names, trying to account for everyone and figure out what to do with everybody. Now, many of the tourists who have nowhere to go tonight are being bused or trolleyed to other hotels. Here's one visitor's account of tonight's terrifying moment as the storm hit. Now, to sum up what's going on here in the city of Myrtle Beach tonight is the Public Information Officer, Mark Crew. Mark, thanks a lot for joining us tonight. A storm, a tornado that really hit everyone by surprise. What is the city doing as we speak to start those cleanup efforts?
We still have crews out working right now with the power company to make sure that the power is restored, that the traffic signals are working in the intersections. We have the police and the fire departments out securing those buildings that are not habitable at this point, making sure that everybody's safe.
And we talked about people at Bar Harbor trying to be accounted for. Is the city aware of anyone who has not been accounted for at this point?
No, we're very fortunate. We had minor injuries, a couple of minor injuries. Everyone is accounted for as far as we know. 2 buildings were severely damaged in some places, but otherwise everything worked very well.
Great. And last but not least, you've seen the traffic. We sat in it as well. What areas can folks avoid tonight and even into the weekend?
Certainly give the crews a chance to do their work, to bring the power online, to make sure that the debris is cleared out of the intersection. We'll have crews out again in the morning as well, picking up debris and making sure that everything is safe for people to get through. So avoid the area of the most hit area, if you will, at least until people have a chance to clear it.
Gotcha. Mark, thanks a lot for joining us tonight. Again, you heard it here. The cleanup efforts have begun in the city of Myrtle Beach, but there's lots more to be done and lots more repairs to be made. We'll keep you posted. I'm Keri Schwartz reporting live in Myrtle Beach.
Thanks a lot,
Thank
Keri.
you very much.
And again, Mark Crew was saying, if you don't have to be out, please don't. We still need some emergency vehicles to be able to get through, power crews, that type thing. And we have had gridlock along the Grand Strand earlier today, particularly because this happened right before rush hour on a Friday afternoon on the 4th of July weekend.
Yeah, granted, the storm is over. I'm sure that's an attitude of most folks that it's over and it's moved away now. But there is still some damage and things that need to be taken care of here. So best bet to stay home or to avoid those areas that the crews are working in right now. And of course there was damage across the Grand Strand today. We had funnel clouds spotted Waccamaw Pottery, as we said, in North Myrtle Beach, Restaurant Row, and also down by the pavilion where Ed Piotrowski told us that he actually heard it come over the pavilion, which was amazing. He said the sound was something that we had talked about so long. It sounds like a train coming, and that's exactly how he described it today.
Yeah, it's some remarkable video that we have been seeing coming in throughout the afternoon today, just of between the funnel clouds and people's reaction, I think, to it. It's just, particularly at the Myrtle Beach Pavilion, didn't know where to go, weren't sure what to do, and luckily we've had no major injuries that we know of, and no major injuries or deaths, so that's definitely good news.
Well, there were several reports of funnel clouds and tornadoes over the area of the former Myrtle Beach Air Force Base and Springmaid Beach as well. Here's what it looked like just after the tornado. Unbelievable. Look at this. Jeep overturned, signs were blown over, debris, trees were bent and broken over there on the old Air Force Base.
We have branches in the roadway, of course, and people had to clean broken glass from their van. Had a lot of cars that lost their windows, and of course down power lines, still causing problems tonight.
As we mentioned to you, many residents and tourists have no place to go tonight. That's where the Red Cross comes in, as they do during most disasters.
Jeannie Carmichael with the Horry County Red Cross joins us right now with more. And Jeannie, we understand that you have opened a shelter for those who have nowhere else to go.
Yes, Allison. There is a shelter open tonight at the First Presbyterian Church in Myrtle Beach, and that's at 1300 North Kings Highway. The volunteers are there. We believe that we'll probably have roughly 30, and hopefully no more will need us. But if people don't have a place to go, that's where they can go for a cot, a warm blanket, hot cup of coffee, and food tonight, breakfast in the morning. We right now are primarily receiving residents that are temporary. So far, I believe they've said no one who has had a home affected has come, but it's important that families who have their home affected, this is the home they live in, or they're renting, if they have damage and need help, please have them call the Red Cross, and our number is 477-0020, and we'll have teams out there to help them.
Jeannie, you know, this caught many of us by surprise, but as we said, this is what you guys do. I guess you got word of it late this afternoon, and guys jumped right into action, huh?
Yes, our volunteers are right there ready to help those in need, and they're going to be there all night long.
And you mentioned that you do have food and coffee available, as well as blankets and cots. I guess people need, what do they need to bring with them?
Well, they should bring medication, a change of clothes, their toothbrush, the toiletry type items that they need. But it's always good to have some reading material if they may need to be there a day or two, something to do, and we'll try to entertain them.
All right, Jeannie, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And it wasn't just Myrtle Beach that saw damage from that tornado today. There was also damage up in the Restaurant Row area in between Myrtle Beach and North Myrtle Beach. News Channel 15's Tonya Brown is live up there with more for us. Tonya?
Keith, we're here at Chesapeake House Seafood Restaurant on North Kings Highway in North Myrtle Beach, where, as you can see, crews are still working to restore power. Now, this is one of the hardest hit areas in North Myrtle Beach. Around 4 o'clock today, a tornado touched down here, knocking down trees and destroying power. Billboard signs and restaurant awnings were also destroyed and scattered over the highway. Now, just a few miles away from here on Kings Road in Horry County, damage is also bad. The road is completely covered with debris, and police closed that road due to a downed power line that they felt would endanger residents. Now, the road is covered in debris, and portions of Arcadian Shores Golf Course have a number of trees that were split in half by the tornado. Many vacationers say the twister knocked out their hotel windows, leaving them to run for cover in the basement. Now, Horry County Police say Kings Road will remain closed until the debris is cleared and power is restored, and traffic going that way is going to be redirected to Kings Highway. Joining me now with more on this is Lisa Hammersley. She is a public information officer for Horry County. Lisa, how bad was Horry County affected by this tornado?
Actually, the unincorporated area of Horry County sustained minimal damage. There was basically two areas that was pretty good. The area right behind you in Restaurant Road that you can see that we've got some down power lines, structural damage, also a lot of debris on the road. And the second area is the Spring-Made Beach area. We did have, it was a campsite there, so we did have between 16 to 20 campers, RVs that were damaged in that area as well.
What about injuries?
We actually have a report that 36 calls were made for EMS assistance due to the incident, and about 75 to 80% of them were actually transported to the hospital. I do not have a report on how many actually were admitted into the hospital, but that's what we have with just minor injuries.
Where does the county go from here as far as assessing the damage?
Basically, our main concern right now is making sure that the infrastructure is up and running, that the street lights are up, that the debris is cleared from the road, and just making sure that everybody is safe, and power and water and sewer is to every resident.
Thank you, Lisa, so much for joining us. And over the next few days, as Lisa said, they will evaluate the damage and just get an overall assessment of the damage for Horry County. I'm Tonya Brown reporting live in North Myrtle Beach.
Thanks a lot, Tonya. Well, as we've talked about power lines down across the Grand Strand, we're joined now live with the latest on those power outages by Jill Watts, who is the Director of Customer Services for Santee Cooper. Jill, thanks for joining us, and what's the latest right now? I know earlier we had about 4,000 customers without power. Where do we stand right now?
Right now we do have crews continuing to work throughout our service area where we have outages, primarily in the Myrtle Beach area. And we think we have about 200 customers that are without power now, again, primarily in Myrtle.